start posting online. I've met a lot of young marketers who have asked me this question many times, and I'll say to them, do you post on LinkedIn? Do you post regularly on social media? And surprisingly, a lot of them say no.
But how do you think that having that online presence assisted you with getting that position?
I think it was incredibly important.
I'll record something and just go, no, like what was that, girlfriend? Like this is just not it.
You just have to, I think, rip off the Band-Aid and just put it out there.
Different content for Instagram, for TikTok and for LinkedIn.
It is a lot of testing, a lot of sampling. There's a lot of nuances between platforms.
What do you think that process was and how do you think you got to the niche? Welcome back to the Lucky Boy Agency podcast, the podcast where we chat with creatives about the highs and lows of the industry and learn about their career paths. Today I'm with the amazing Ebony, who is the digital marketing manager at Keep Cup, the global company that has become synonymous with sustainability and reusable coffee cups. Ebony is a marketing enthusiast who champions remarkable Australian brands through strategic communication, collaborating with marketing, product and sales team to bring campaigns to life across social media, email marketing, e-commerce and design. Beyond her 9 to 5, she is a fashion lover, a foodie and a content creator. Ebony has successfully built a personal brand for herself that has allowed her to connect with her audience on a deeper level. Today we'll be discussing how she developed her personal brand and the benefits it's brought her both personally and professionally. Welcome, Ebony. So nice to have you in today.
Thank you for having me. Very exciting.
Yeah, so glad to have you in. We met, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 months ago at a marketing meetup.
Yeah.
I always think those events are so good because you end up meeting so many people that you can connect with. And it's all about having a community, especially when you're a creative, which I think is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's nothing more important, especially in the marketing space, than your personal network. And it's something that I've realised transitioning into my new role, how high value the people you know actually is. And it's such an integral part to your career progression and like content creation.
Totally.
Well.
And it comes into play in so many different weird and wonderful ways. Like I always talk about network, like the people that I just got referred a job from a girl that was 2 years below me in high school. Like you just never know where it's going to come from.
Yeah. So, you just got to plant the seed, I think. Yeah.
Play the long game.
Yeah.
So since we met, I followed you on TikTok straight away
and
came across your content and absolutely love your content.
Oh, thank you.
I really, really from the beginning always thought and really admired the personal brand that you have created for yourself.
Thank you.
Really excited to talk to you about how you've crafted that and what opportunities that has brought for you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such an exciting topic.
Yeah. So can you talk me through when you sort of started to create content and develop your own personal brand online?
Yeah, I think it probably became really apparent that it was something that I needed in order to be successful in my marketing career while I was studying. And at university, we had a lot of opportunity to build out portfolio, for example. That was an essential part of the degree. And at that point, I think it made it very clear that that was something that I needed. And being in marketing, like studying marketing and having a marketing brain, obviously immediately, I think it just naturally gravitated towards the online platforms because that's where I naturally spend a lot of my time and I really enjoy having an online presence. Mm-hmm. So from very early on, I recognized that it was very important to find a way to optimize that for my career pathway. And that obviously rolled out into Instagram. First, predominantly Instagram is where I started posting and always have posted from a personal side. And then LinkedIn, I think, is the most important platform when it comes to building a personal brand.
Totally.
Yeah.
So you create content for Instagram, you have a great TikTok presence and you're also on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah.
I'm really interested to know how you kind of developed your niche for content on each platform. Mm-hmm. I feel like you do have quite a niche on TikTok. Like your content is quite, you sort of know what you're about when you land on your page, which I think is really great. It's not like it feels like you've kind of gone past the point of trialing different things and you kind of know what works. And you have a style is what I'm trying to say. You have a style and you have a niche. Like what was that? What do you think that process was and how do you think you got to the niche?
There's a lot of sampling that happens early on, and even now I absolutely am always trialing different things. I think I've got a pretty good idea on TikTok, especially what works and what my audience really likes. But when it comes to like expressing myself and like reflecting where I'm also at in my personal journey, you tend to notice like a bit of a fluctuation, I think, in my content. And then between platforms like TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, each of them I have a slightly different voice because you've got a different audience. TikTok is very much about my, I guess, fashion predominantly. I get a lot of engagement from posting about being a size 16 in the curve fashion space. Then I post a lot about marketing and just generally like day-to-day life. Instagram, I'd say, is my most personal space because that's where I have been posting for the longest, and that's where I share my relationship and things with my family, for example, that I don't necessarily put on TikTok. And then when you come to LinkedIn, like that's the full professional zone. But I think for me, even on LinkedIn, I try to be as personable as possible because I think that's how people really connect with me.
Yeah. I think so too. I think LinkedIn definitely has a style, and you can see the way that people write kind of with the one sentence per paragraph.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a structure of what works. And there's definitely, I feel like LinkedIn, you can pick up on trends of what's working and kind of create your content to suit that style. But I agree. And I found that recently, the more kind of things that I would have thought would have performed better on Instagram, we recently created a short little Instagram reel, which was slow shutter photography in night in Melbourne.
I did see that. It was
went
incredible.
Well on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And
interesting.
I'm thinking, what's going on here? Because it's not even optimized for LinkedIn. It's not landscape or square. And I feel like LinkedIn doesn't always love vertical videos. Maybe that's shifting a little bit.
Definitely.
But yeah, I feel like for us in marketing, it's important for us to kind of stay on top of what's working. And I think we kind of do that naturally by just being on the platforms, but being able to create different content for Instagram, for TikTok and for LinkedIn. It's definitely not an easy thing, but when you're using the platform so much, you kind of just pick up on what works. And it is a lot of testing, right?
It is a lot of testing, a lot of sampling. There's a lot of nuances between platforms. Like you just said, you've posted video content to LinkedIn recently and it's done really well. And I think that's because LinkedIn is starting to get on the video train a lot more. So naturally they're going to push that style of content at the moment because that's what they want people to start sharing. So I think if you have the capacity to recognize that traction and really embrace like the new content format wherever you are posting, you will see really good results.
Yeah, definitely. And have you seen how Instagram is now, the grid is changing?
Yeah.
And everyone just wants to be like TikTok.
I know.
Everyone just wants video content. I don't know. It's I do love short form video content, but I think there's other styles of content that are nice as well. But it's interesting that, as you just said, LinkedIn is pushing for the video style content as well because that's what works on the other platforms.
Yeah, 100%. And even YouTube, I think at the moment is having like quite a resurgence with like YouTube shorts and then obviously long form video on there because people are really enjoying that. Like you said, long form's very engaging.
What I really admire and something that I kind of strive to do is actually obviously I'm on camera all the time, but this is a different scenario. I don't know what happens when I put my phone up in front of my face. I'll record something. Maybe it's because you're looking yourself in the eye. I'll record something and just go, no, like what was that, girlfriend? Like this is just not it. And then I'll kind of record it a few times and then just totally get the ick over it.
Yeah.
And there was this one time I was so determined to get this video recorded, and I swear it took me like 45 minutes to record this tiny little video and then ended up deleting it, didn't I? Because it got like 600 views and I thought, oh no, like that won't do. So it's so hard, but you're so good at it. Has that just come from practice?
Yeah, I think the one thing I always say to people is don't overthink it, just post.
Yeah.
And that is probably the baseline of how I like keep myself, I guess, in check when I'm doing my own content and obviously share that information with people. Because if you get too caught up in like what you look like, and you over edit and you fuss over it, you probably aren't going to post it. Like it's probably sitting in your drafts and it's been there for 6 months, you know? So you just have to, I think, rip off the Band-Aid and just put it out there. And if you don't get a lot of views, like that's totally fine, because what you've learnt from that is maybe it doesn't land well with your audience. So you need to take a slightly different approach with your content going forward. So it's all a constant learning process, and there's a lot of also reflection and like self growth that happens along the way, because you are very much like, you've always got your camera in your face, and there's at no point during your life where you would constantly be walking around with a mirror in front of your face, for example.
So true.
Yeah, it's pretty full on. So I think you've got to be really mindful and just try and not overthink it.
Yeah,
just go with the flow.
Than perfect.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, and just share more, and then you'll just learn, and you'll see what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah. And you'll get more comfortable. The more you post, the less you'll like feel, or the less you'll overthink it.
It's crazy how platforms like TikTok favor low effort content.
Yeah.
Whereas Instagram Reels, it's all very kind of perfect and curated.
Yeah.
But for TikTok, it can be, I feel like it's often, like I always talk about how we shot this video over a week, and it was me kind of walking across the street. And that was a lot of effort because we had to shoot every day that week. And then I created a video in my car, which took me, 45 seconds. And that did way better.
Yeah.
Because it's just, it was just like, it was a trend. And I think it's something that people could relate to, and it was just a little bit low effort, a bit funny, and that just did better.
Yeah.
So, and you did sort of start to see traction with your fashion style content, is you were gifted quite a lot of clothing, and that sort of became a little bit challenging for you.
Yeah. Like at the time, it was a really cool moment.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I've been fortunate to partner with some really fun brands like Sports Girl, Cotton On, Fate the Label, Feather and Noise, which is a brand here in Melbourne. And like in the moment when these brands are reaching out and they want to send you like packages of clothing, and you're like, some of them obviously smaller brands, not as high, but Cotton On and Sports Girl, for example, like you're getting a list of clothing that's coming out in a couple of weeks that you can pick from. They give you a budget and you can fill that budget with your picks. And then they send them out to you, and you either post organically to your feed, or if you have a paid arrangement, you share the content back to them.
And I know that you, as the digital marketing manager at Keep Cup, is a massively sought after job. And we were chatting about, I don't think we knew the exact number, but there would have been hundreds and hundreds of people that would have applied for that role. Such an enticing role. But how do you think that having that online presence assisted you with getting that position?
I think it was incredibly important, and not just for that role specifically, but all the roles that I interviewed for leading up to that point and receiving my offer from Keep Cup. Because, for example, the role at Keep Cup, I applied for it directly through LinkedIn, and I could see when Keep Cup had downloaded my CV and read my application, and then within a couple of days of that, I had Abigail Forsyth, who's the co-founder and managing director of Keep Cup, in my DMs on LinkedIn.
Wow.
And that was the first contact that we had to start the interview process and having those conversations. So knowing that in itself, you need to have a LinkedIn presence if you want to, I think, work in marketing, but also have a successful personal brand, because that is besides my resume, obviously, that is the point of contact.
You have your LinkedIn fully optimized. You have a bio that's representative of where you currently are.
Yep.
And you seem very personable and friendly in your LinkedIn bio, which I think sometimes LinkedIn bios can feel very, stale, but to put a bit of personality in there is some good advice, and to say, I'm open to chatting, connect with me. I thought that was really nice, reading your LinkedIn bio, and then being active on the platform. It just shows, and sharing content, interacting with other people. I think, employers find that very, very attractive.
I think in the moment, like, people get really caught up in what to post, which I said before, don't overthink it, just put it up. Because if you think you're in that like tier of people, which is so small, that have actually made the decision to post, like there's 10 times you who are probably watching what you're posting, wishing that they could be doing what you're doing. So even though it can feel like quite daunting, if you can just like break through that barrier and slowly build your confidence, and you can post really simple things. Like, for example, if I'm struggling, I listen to a lot of podcasts. So one type of content that I post if I'm struggling for something to talk about is I'll talk about a recent podcast that I've listened to or make a recommendation. And I think it can be something as simple as that, where you're not making yourself too vulnerable with your like thoughts on different topics. You're just talking about something that you've enjoyed and you think, you know, you're paying it forward because you're recommending it for another person to listen to if they choose to. And also it just goes to show that you're comfortable like using your personal voice and you've got a tone of voice and you've got your personal brand. And when you've got an employer or a, you know, someone you'd like to work with looking at your socials, they do get that snapshot of you.
That's a good point in saying that you don't have to have the most original thought in the world in order to make a LinkedIn post. You don't have to be like foreshadowing trends or being the first one to comment on something that's happened in the news. I think those posts do really well.
Yeah.
And I love when people think really creatively about a funny idea. It's something that's really relevant, like that post that went really, really viral and had a snapshot of Emily in Paris to do with the opening ceremony of the Olympics. I thought, genius, love it, super simple. And they obviously had that creative thought and got in there. But it doesn't always have to be, you don't have to have the most original thought in the world in order to create some content. And I think that's a really good example, is sharing. Maybe you just have a recommendation and that's something that is not super vulnerable that you're sharing, but it is a really nice piece of content because you're saying, hey, this is what I like. Maybe you'll find benefits to it.
Yeah.
Do you think, can you think of any other styles of content that might be good for someone who's kind of starting out?
My best performing post by far was one that I recently shared about my time at Keep Cup and the social media engagement that we've been able to build. And I think if you think about your job, for example, what you do day to day, and maybe there's like a little fragment within that that you can pull out and you can share online. So whether it's an Instagram post or it's a project that you're working on or you've been on a photo shoot, like people love to see the behind the scenes content, like something so simple as that. You can obviously like put that up. You always want to have a photo, like it's a photo of yourself. It's a photo of like, if you're allowed to share it, something that you're shooting, maybe it's of the catered lunch that you organize. Like, you know, you just need something aesthetic to complement your storytelling and just talk a little bit about your day. You know, you don't have to like make it too difficult. I think people are generally just like interested in what other people are doing. We're very curious by nature. So yeah, just
pick out something from your day and talk about it, or talk about maybe a personal milestone, a professional milestone, something at work. Just kind of think a little bit more. I think if anyone sat down and kind of thought about what I could post and put the time into it, you probably would come up with something.
You would come up with a lot of things. And also a little bit of a hack as well is you can also see what other, like the thing that I started doing was I followed a whole bunch of people that were sort of like at that level where I was hoping I could get my posting to. And when you do that and you see what those people are posting, like look at those posts, you can save on LinkedIn, like save them. And for like when you come back to it and you want to post something you're feeling like comfortable, go back and look at what you've saved and maybe use that as inspiration as well, because that is also a great way to generate ideas. And also on the other side of that, you can use ChatGPT.
Totally, to give you some prompts.
Or just like, you know, help you generate some ideas, some talking points, you know, and that will get you going.
It does get you started. I feel like I think I definitely use ChatGPT to generate ideas, and then I find it easy to kind of put my own tone of voice into it from there and write how I would write. Because, you know, you want it to be a little bit more, you want it to be personal, but you can't ask ChatGPT to like be funny or witty because it tries so hard, but it just can't.
It's not,
I know personally I try to at least interact with a few people commenting on different things every single day, and then I'll likely post once a week, I would say, and try and, you know, like have a good quality post that I'll share. That's probably what I aim for. What about you?
I think for LinkedIn, my goal is once a week, and that's because I try and balance it with my other content. So I try and post on Instagram once or twice a week, and then TikTok I try and post every day.
Every day?
Yeah, but I don't always live up to that expectation.
That's amazing.
But I think for me, I work full time. I have a pretty there's a lot of responsibility that comes with my role. So when I get home in the afternoon, I don't necessarily want to be posting online,
Yeah,
and
when it feels like a chore, that's when you need to
red
take a
flag,
break.
you need to get offline and disconnect.
And working with a very, very well-known brand, was there a process of when you started that job of talking to them about, because when you're creating content, you're essentially an extension of that brand. Was there a process of you speaking to the founder, and what was that like?
Yeah. When I first got the job, I think I did do a video. I posted a video on TikTok and I was like, I've got a secret. I've got a new job. I can't tell you guys where it is. And at that time I was like, I didn't want to go public with what my new role was, what the company was, because you don't know going in if they have a policy or what the expectation is around being able to film in the office, for example. So I was pretty low key about it. I was posting my outfit videos and talking a little bit about it, but I didn't say anything about the company or show any of the office, for example. And then I think probably about 2 months in, I had a one-on-one with my boss, and I said to her, I have this online presence that I really want to nurture. This is the type of content that I post. Are you comfortable with me, filming my day here, what I do, and posting it online? And we obviously had a little bit of a chat around the parameters of that. I said to her, and this I think is just general common sense. You're not going to post new product. You're not going to post anything that hasn't been released to public. You have to be respectful of other people in your team. You can't just start filming people at work. That's not okay.
So wonderful that you work at an organization that supports that and doesn't kind of make you feel funny about it and make you feel like you're in the wrong. Because it's benefiting them.
It is 100%.
Yeah. And they obviously recognize that. I would absolutely love if one of our team members was creating daily content and making the workplace look so cool. That is amazing. It's definitely so good. So we've obviously spoken a lot about the online personal brand side of things, but there's definitely different ways that your personal brand can sort of shine through when you're applying for jobs. And I know we spoke a little bit about your CV when you do apply.
So essentially I have a pink resume and I also have a photo on my CV, which I'm totally fine with. You'll get a lot of people that'll, say don't put a photo, whatever.
Put a photo when I was applying for our apartment.
I
was like, this is me attached.
And a photo of your dog. That definitely would have got you in.
I'm like, this is me. I think people when people, and I actually wonder if our landlords even looked at our socials. Because they would have seen our name, because they probably want to see who's living in their apartment as well.
Definitely.
If I can upload a photo, I've got a photo on there.
Here's my Christmas card photo.
Literally. So pink resume with the photo of yourself.
And I think that in itself, if I have applied for a job and you open my CV and it's pink and you are like, oh no, this is too much, this is not for me, then also I'm not the right candidate for you.
Absolutely.
So I think you have to be comfortable with, you've got to put yourself out there so that people can get a feel for who you are and, what you're about. But also if they don't like that, you have to be comfortable with also accepting that. But I think what that leads to is much more authentic and aligned opportunities in the long run. So I think I try and be as true to my personal brand as possible in those situations. And I do think that it has paid off for me in long term.
Even the way that you sort of present yourself with your style as well, that's also very important to, perception is everything when you're going for a new job. So making sure that you're sort of coming across very, I suppose, tidy is also something that I think can be very beneficial when you're looking for jobs or looking for that next exciting step in your career.
I think you're also an extension of the brand that you work for. So you have to be really mindful of that, because once they hire you, like Keep Cup hired me, I talk about Keep Cup on my personal profiles. Like I am therefore an extension of the brand. So they, or the brand that you're interviewing with, has to be like proud of you and like comfortable with you. So they want you to be putting your best foot forward. And if you can't do that early on in an interview stage, then why would someone be comfortable like bringing you in and hiring you? Because, you know, you're not putting in the effort from day one. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
The final question I had for you was, I guess, what tips would you give anyone who was maybe still in that position that you were so long ago, studying and wanting to sort of put their best foot forward when they do enter the job market?
I think start posting online. I've met a lot of young marketers who have asked me this question many times, and I'll say to them, do you post on LinkedIn? Do you post regularly on social media? And surprisingly, a lot of them say no. And these will be people that are looking for social media roles. And if you're looking for a social media role, you need to like show that you can mirror that with your personal account. So 100%, like you need to start posting online. You need to have a resolved resume. Put your photo on your resume, because people are going to find you anyway. So if you may as well give them the best impression immediately when they open your CV, rather than letting them go on a rabbit hole through your Facebook and finding a picture from 10 years ago and like judging you from that.
Yeah,
you don't want that.
Cruiser in your hand.
Yeah. So I think, start posting online, sort out your CV, put a picture on. I'm so big for that. And then also when you're applying for roles, like think of things that you can do to like go that little extra mile that's going to put you ahead of everyone else. And whether or not that's a direct message on LinkedIn to the person who's the hiring manager for the company you want to work for, or you post content during that period that resonates with that brand so that they're going to see that, and that's hopefully going to make a connection. Because those little breadcrumbs, which we said earlier on, are so important, because you're planting the seeds that are going to come full circle later on, and you don't realize it at the time, but that's such an important thing to do.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. It's been
very,
really
very,
fun.
very valuable.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed it.
Oh, yay. That's so good. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you want to hear more, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and excited to see you next time.